Appreciate everybody joining us this morning. Today, we're going to be discussing short-term rentals, also known as some of the more popular websites and companies are Airbnb or VRBO. These offer convenience and profit for some, but they are also impacting the quality of life and public safety of others in our community. This past spring, we were in this very room and we discussed some of the concerns that we've had with these short-term rental properties related to underage illegal parties. Since that time, we've had a number of incidents of criminal activity that have been reported at these locations, including incidents of underage drinking, parties, armed robberies, and even a homicide this past June. These incidents have prompted our department to start working to identify opportunities where we can protect the community. Lieutenant Mike Ford, who works in the Special Investigations Bureau, has been involved with this work, and he will outline what the department and what we have been doing. At this time, I will turn it over to Lieutenant Ford. Lieutenant Ford.
Good morning. Thanks, Captain. That work started back in late spring when community coordinators from our 13 patrol divisions began compiling a list of short-term rental properties where officers have had to respond to 911 calls. We have been so far able to identify approximately 50 of these short-term rental properties. In November, the CMPD sent letters to some of the companies that manage short-term rental properties, encouraging them to have the property owners voluntarily register the property with the CMPD's rental ordinance unit. Owners who voluntarily register their property allow the CMPD to notify them of an incident that was reported on their property. By registering, property owners can receive email alerts for disorder calls for service, such as fights, disturbances, and being notified of any incident that has been reported on their property. Voluntarily registering also gives the department an opportunity to communicate with property owners and to educate them about code enforcement, fraud investigations, and evictions. That is only some of the work that we as a department have undertaken to prevent crime from developing at short-term rental properties. Our rental ordinance unit is currently working to identify a new case management software to track nuisance and rental property cases. The software will allow officers to locate owners or responsible parties for rental addresses using the software, send messages to the nuisance and abatement and rental ordinance unit directly, and update any information that they come across during their call for service or investigations. Again, communication is critical. It is tremendously difficult for the CMPD to prevent crime and manage the quality of life issues that develop at short-term rental property locations if we don't have open communication with property owners. Property owners who wish to voluntarily register can do so by calling 704-432-6044 or by visiting the rental property ordinance page on our website at www.cmpd.org. Does anybody have any questions?
Lieutenant, is there like a key example that you could give of just how this goes wrong sometimes?
Sure. I mean, as everyone knows, as Captain just outlined the homicide that we had, in situations like that, you could have a party, someone rents a place, they have a big party, the owner is not aware of it, CMPD, we get on scene, have no idea who the owner is, and therefore sometimes we don't have, the tools to be able to shut the party down. If we know who owns the residence, we could reach out directly to them quickly, and we can, get to the bottom of that a lot easier.
Can you give us any sort of number of how many calls you're getting related to these incidents?
So currently we have 50 that we identified, and that each one of those at least had one call for service. Now, we all know there's probably a lot more than that, and that's part of the reason why we're doing this. If we don't have these locations identified, then it's extremely difficult to measure what's happening at them. So that's part of the reason why we're doing this.
What does it look like when you come upon a scene of one of these? Typically, what's happening?
Sure. So if you want to, for parties, for an example, you tend to see a lot of people going in and out, alcohol. Sometimes there's even security. A lot of times they look like a nightclub in a condo or an apartment or even a residence. So obviously that's concerning. And being able to identify the owner quickly helps us to be able to shut it down a lot quicker.
I'm assuming there's an additional risk with these key entry buildings that having unknown people in the building could present a security threat to other parts of other residents' homes.
Sure. So anytime any location, whether it be residential or commercial, is used for a purpose that it's not intended for, you can the risk of something bad happening. That's why places like a nightclub are regulated. So when you start to use places that aren't traditionally set up for that, that's how you can have those risks could happen.
I know it's against apartment complex policy at some places to even have short-term rentals. How do you, I know that's on the apartment to enforce, but when you get called to a situation where it's not allowed there, are there extra charges associated with violating your own apartment complex's ordinances in this type of situation?
I'm sure that's something that between the apartment complex and whoever's renting it, as far as if they have a covenants or any kind of bylaws, that wouldn't be anything that we would be involved with, but that does exist for them that's for them to be concerned with, absolutely.
Are there any city ordinances or criminal laws or anything that you guys do are you able to do anything in these situations?
So at this point, that's why this is strictly voluntary. We want everyone to register, but on a completely voluntary basis, just to open that line of communication between the police department and the people having their houses or apartments available for rent.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
As Lieutenant Ford mentioned, it is strictly voluntary, and we are certainly in the infancy of this. We anticipate that we will have a lot of success with this, but a lot of this buy-in comes from the voluntary compliance that people who want to rent their properties do go ahead and open that line of communication with our police department. Now, switching gears a little bit, our department responded to our 104th homicide this past Monday morning out on North Brevard Street. Providing an update on that case is Lieutenant Brian Crum. Lieutenant Crum.
Good morning. So as Captain Koch said, Monday morning we responded to a report of shots fired in the area of Brevard Street. While officers were circulating looking for the possible suspects shooting a gun off, they found Scott Brooks outside of his business at Brooks Sandwich House. He was pronounced deceased on the scene. I can tell you now that at this time it appears to be an attempted robbery. We're currently looking for 2 individuals. Detectives have a lot of leads that we're actively working, but it's also important today that we ask the community for their help in solving this case. The Brooks family, Scott and his entire family, have been a part of the fabric of that community for 45 years. What's interesting about this case is in the last 2 days, I've had a lot of people come to me. People ask about the cases and they ask about, the family, and they tell their own story about what the Brooks family meant to them. And I can tell you that there's a common thread through all these is that they were out in the community, they were active members they knew their neighbors, and they were there to help them. When somebody was in need, they would always step up and do the right thing to help them out. So today, the Brooks family needs the community's help. We know there's someone out there that has information about this case, and it's important that they come forward and share that information with us, no matter how small. As I've said before, even the smallest piece of information can be critical in us putting together the larger picture of the case. They can contact, as always, the tip line at 704-432-TIPS or our Crime Stoppers at 704-334-1600. It's important we have their information. We don't need to know who you are. As always, there's a reward up to $5,000 for information leading to an arrest in this case.
You got any video?
We do have video, and detectives have been canvassing the area looking for additional video. We're still reviewing through all that. We don't have any that we can share with you at this time, though.
Any description for the suspects?
Not at this time. We're still working through that. I can tell you that it appears to be 2 males. Like I said, there's a lot of video, and we're digging through all of that.
Do you believe the business was targeted at random? Was there any connection whatsoever?
It was targeted. We believe it was targeted because it was a business. Beyond that, I can't say. But it appears it's a business that deals in cash, and it's likely targeted for that reason. But beyond that, I have no idea why they may have targeted him.
Are you able to say the two individuals, did you guys come across them, video surveillance, is some of good police work with people coming forward? Are you able to kind of discuss some of how those people became identified?
Sure. So video surveillance is critical, and you guys know that there's video surveillance everywhere today. Businesses have video. There's Ring doorbell cameras in the area. I mean, we basically canvass the neighborhood not just for people, but for potential sources of video. We also have had a lot of neighbors step up that may not have directly seen the people, but they're telling us, they may have seen someone running, they may have heard something unusual, and we've got a ton of tips coming in, but we need them to continue to come in so that we can sort through them.
In the robbery, did they get away with anything?
Not sure at this time. I can't answer that, just based on where we're at in the investigation, but we may have an update at a later time.
Brian, we heard that it looked like there may have been a scuffle, that Scott may have tried to fight back. Do you know?
We're still looking at that. Like I said, as we move forward in the investigation, hopefully we can share a little bit more with you guys. But I can tell you that Scott's an innocent victim in this. He's, like I said, he helps people in the neighborhood. He did nothing to bring this upon himself.
Had you ever met him?
I didn't know Scott personally. I have had their sandwiches before. I stopped by for a chili cheeseburger. They're pretty delicious, but I don't personally know him. No, sir.
NODA has developed a lot in the recent years. Would you say the levels of crime have also followed that?
The levels of crime have changed. I can't tell you specifically. That's not a neighborhood that I worked really closely, not a patrol level, so that's something we could get you the information about if you wanted it specifically.
Did the restaurant itself have surveillance video?
There are cameras at the restaurant.
Any other questions?
Sorry, I want to clarify the number 104 for you guys. If you guys remember back, the case that we had on Rama Road was initially, we charged somebody with involuntary manslaughter, and our NIBRS people, that's FBI reporting people that go through the data, have reviewed that and determined that that's classified as an 09A, which is a homicide for NIBRS reporting purposes. So that's being included in the number. It really doesn't have anything to do with the substance of the case, but that's a nuance of federal crime reporting. So the number is 104 now.
You were talking about this being a cash-only business. What can business owners, or really any of them, what precautions could they take?
Just the typical things, having a couple of people present during opening, being aware of your surroundings. We have police officers that specialize in, community safety, and they call it CEPTED. They can help come out and do an analysis if you've got concerns about your business, and we'll provide you with some input if about your particular situation.
Unrelated to the homicide at Brooks, but we had a shooting at a popular bar with lots of people at Smoky Joe's. Is there concern when something like this happens at a bar where there's 60 plus people there?
I think there's always concern when anybody pulls out a gun in any kind of situation and starts shooting, but obviously when there's more people present, there's more danger to unintended targets. But it concerns us anytime people pull out a gun to settle, disputes.
Didn't we have somebody shot there or outside of there a year or two ago?
Yes, sir, we did. We had a murder there about a year ago. It was at Smoky Joe's. It was a patron. And if you remember, we made a couple of arrests in that case.
There have been a few cases where business owners have been killed just doing their job during the overnight hours. Do you, from a law enforcement public safety perspective, advise that business owners are alone in the late night hours?
I mean, that's up to the needs of the business. I can't really advise an individual business. But what I think is the most concerning to us is when people come to work to do their job and somebody, does something to harm them.
Thank you.
Yeah, great work.
All right, as Lieutenant Crum said, anybody with information is asked to call either Crime Stoppers at 704-334-1600, or you can call and speak directly with the homicide detective in charge of that case at 704-432-TIPS. Before we leave you, we'd like to talk about a incident that we are investigating in the North Division that occurred yesterday afternoon. We had an 11-year-old female that exited the bus on Sunwalk Court near Suntrace Way, I apologize. And as she was getting off the bus, there was a male in his 50s, white male in his 50s, about 6 foot, wearing black jacket and black pants, who attempted to grab her. We canvassed that area And we were unable to locate him at this time. However, we ask anybody who might have been in that vicinity or knows anything to please call Crime Stoppers at 704-334-1600. We have any questions?
Captain, just to clarify, there was a school bus that she was getting off?
Yes, sir. Sure was a school bus.
About what time?
It was about 3 o'clock. Well, between 3 and 4 o'clock.
So like you grabbed at her and she ran, or you yelled at her? Or?
Yes. She attempted to grab her, and she took off running.
Was
You were able to get away.
Did he have a car or anything, or?
Not at this time. We believe he was on foot. So anybody in that area, around that location, which is off Old Statesville in our North Division, anybody who has in that vicinity driving by who might have seen something, we just ask them to please call Crime Stoppers.
Tell us the street again.
What's that?
The street?
The street is Sunwalk Court. We will be sending out a press release detailing this in the very near future.
Any description of the suspect?
What we do, we have him, he's a white male in his 50s, about 6 foot tall, wearing all black.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Off topic, I think, real quick, as I observed our article today, just talking about drunk driving arrest, the last 14 to 18, basically the same DWI arrests are down almost 50%. Just one, have you guys seen it, and just any comments about what you guys maybe have seen there, or maybe what your police records have shown, or anything there?
Well, since you asked me about 2 minutes before coming out here, we'll have to look into that. I don't have those kind of statistics at my fingertips right now, but that's certainly something we can address with you offline.
Any update on the Brownlee Jewelers robbery yesterday? Happened while the store was open, people in there?
Right, yeah, we do not have an update at this time. Our armed robbery unit, centralized armed robbery unit, is investigating that robbery, though.
Is that unusual to happen in that area when it's still open and shoppers are in there?
Oh, certainly, yeah. Anytime we have a robbery in a business, when it is open for business, is certainly unusual. And so we're have a lot of resources dedicated working on that case at this time.
And I'm guessing they had surveillance video.
I would assume so, yes. All right. Thank you all very much. Have a great day.